Championship Thaw. Championship Thaw. A championship hockey romance. Maren Kingsley. Copyright 2026 Maren Kingsley. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except for brief quotations in a book review. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are the product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental. First edition, 2026. For everyone who ever fell and got back up. The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Alan Watts. Contents. Chapter 1. Chapter 2. Chapter 3. Chapter 14. Chapter 5. Chapter 6. Chapter 17. Chapter 18. Chapter 9. Chapter 10. Chapter 11. Chapter 12. Chapter 13. Chapter 15. Chapter 16. Chapter 19. Chapter 20. Chapter 21. Chapter 22. Chapter 23. Chapter 24. Epilogue. Chapter 1. Nova's POV, the announcement. The first thing I do every morning is lace up before I think too hard about it. If I think about it, I'll notice the wrist. If I notice the wrist, I'll have to make decisions I'm not ready to make. So I don't think. I lace up, I step on the ice, and I become the version of myself that doesn't have problems. Just edges. Just speed. Just the puck. It's 7:43 in the morning and I have my team running figure-8 drills at a pace that's making 2 of them breathe through their mouths. That's fine. Mouth breathing means they're working. Working means we're getting better. Getting better is the only thing I know how to control. Tighter on the turn, Kim, I call out. You're drifting wide. Kim Nakamura cuts harder without answering back. Good. I don't need answers. I need execution. Junie, reset. You went early on that last pass. Juniper Park glides past me backward, grinning. I went early because I'm fast. You went early because you're impatient. Same thing. It's really not. She spins forward and falls back into the drill. I watch the lines move. 12 women who have put everything into this season. We're sitting second in the regional standings. Second. 1 spot from where I want us. 1 spot I intend to fix before this semester ends. I don't hear the door to the arena open. I hear the silence that follows it. That specific quiet that happens when a group of people all notice the same thing at the same time and stop talking. I've played hockey long enough to know that silence. It usually means something is wrong. I turn around. Athletic Director Marsh is walking toward center ice. He's a wide man in a gray coat, moving with the careful steps of someone who doesn't trust ice under his dress shoes. Behind him, filing through the far entrance, is the men's team. Every single one of them. Full gear. Post-practice, by the look of it, steam still rising from a few of them in the cold arena air. They come in loud the way men's teams always do, sticks clanging, someone laughing at something, the whole group spreading out along the boards like they own whatever room they walk into. The sound that comes out of my chest is not a word. It's the kind of exhale that means of course. Junie pulls up beside me. Her voice drops low. Why are they here? I don't know. Nova. I said I don't know. I skate to the center dot and stop. The women on my team gather behind me without being told. That's what 2 years of work looks like. They read me. They know that when I stop, we all stop. When I stand still, we form up. Marsh makes it to center ice without falling. Small miracle. Thank you all for being here, he says. His voice carries well in an empty arena. Everything echoes in here. I've always hated that, the way sound bounces back at you like the building is listening. I'll be brief because I know you all have classes. Across the ice, on the other side of Marsh, the men's team settles. They're loud settling. Elbows on boards, bodies stacked, The energy of a group that doesn't know yet this meeting is going to change something. My eyes go, without my permission, directly to Cole Merritt. He's standing at the front. Of course he is. He's always at the front. He's taller than most of his team, shoulders square, helmet off and tucked under his arm. His hair is dark and damp from practice. He's looking at Marsh and his expression is the same one he always has, like he's already 3 steps ahead and mildly bored waiting for the world to catch up. I pull my eyes back to Marsh. The Frost Classic, Marsh says, is this year adding a co-ed division. It's a charity tournament, the proceeds go directly to the Children's Sports Access Fund. Our alumni donors have made it clear that Frost Academy's participation is expected. A murmur moves through both groups. We've been invited to field a co-ed team, Marsh continues. 1 team, men and women both. 6 weeks of combined preparation, then a 2-day tournament. The prize is a significant grant distributed between both programs. He pauses there. On purpose. He knows what a grant means to us. Marsh is many things and stupid isn't one of them. How significant, I say. I don't raise my hand. I just say it. Marsh looks at me. Significant enough that I'd strongly suggest you take it seriously, Captain Callahan. We take everything seriously, I say. I'm asking for the number. Someone on the men's side makes a low sound. Not quite a laugh. Something close to it. The number, Marsh says, patient as a man who has dealt with athletes for 20 years, will be communicated to your coaches. What I need from you both, right now, is a commitment to the process. I look at my team. 12 faces. Some of them uncertain, some of them already calculating what 6 weeks of co-ed practice means for our regular schedule, all of them watching me. I look back at Marsh. Fine. Wonderful. He nods, adjusts his coat, and begins the careful walk back off the ice. And just like that, it's just us. Both teams. Center ice. No buffer. I don't move. After a moment, Cole Merritt skates forward. Not fast. Just steady, the way he does everything, like the ice was made specifically for him and he's simply using it. He stops about 6 feet from me. We haven't spoken in 2 years. Not really. Not more than necessary. Not since I decided he was exactly the kind of person I'd already spent my life learning to expect from men in this sport, someone who heard what they should have stopped and let it keep going. He looks at me. Dark eyes, calm face. I speak first. Don't get in my way, Merritt. He tilts his head. Something moves at the corner of his mouth. Not quite a smile. Not yet. Wouldn't dream of it, Callahan. His voice is easy. Like this is nothing. Like we're 2 people who have a perfectly reasonable history and a perfectly reasonable present and the next 6 weeks will be perfectly fine. I hate how easy his voice is. I hold his eye for 1 more second, then I turn back to my team. Practice is done for today, I say. Tomorrow, 6:15. Same as always. Go eat something. They move. The arena fills with the sound of skates and voices and the distant clang of the men's team doing whatever the men's team does when a meeting ends. I stay on the ice until most of them have cleared. I like being last off. I always have. The rink feels different when it's empty. Bigger. More honest. I reach up and pull off my right glove. I flex my hand. The pain is immediate and specific. Deep in the wrist joint. I've been describing it to myself for weeks as a catch, just a small catch, just a tightness, nothing serious. But this morning it's more than a catch. It moves up my forearm when I flex and stays for 3 full seconds before it fades. I hold very still and wait for it to pass. Long practice. I spin around. Cole Merritt is still on the ice. He's a few feet away, stick across his shoulders, both arms draped over it. He's not looking at my wrist. He's looking at my face. But he was close enough. He saw. I pull my glove back on. Practice ended 10 minutes ago, I say. Why are you still here? Rink's still open. Go find somewhere else to be. He doesn't move. He just watches me with that steady, Unreadable expression that I have decided over 2 years of limited contact is either deep thoughtfulness or a very convincing performance of it. You good, he says. I'm great. The word comes out flat and even. I've had a lot of practice saying I'm great. Go home, Merritt. He looks at me for one more beat. Then he skates off toward the far exit. Slow. No rush. Like he left because he decided to, not because I told him to. I stand on the ice alone. I flex my hand again inside the glove where no one can see it. The catch is still there. Sharper now. 6 weeks. I have 6 weeks. End of. Chapter 2. Cole's POV, the problem with her. The problem with Nova Callahan is that she's right about almost everything. That's the part nobody tells you about people you have complicated feelings toward. You expect them to have flaws you can point at. Clear ones. The kind that make it easy to keep your distance. What you don't expect is to spend 2 years watching someone do their job with a level of precision that makes you want to be better at yours, and still feel like the distance is completely necessary. I have complicated feelings toward Nova Callahan. I am not doing anything about them. I'm on the ice the next morning at 6:10, which is 5 minutes before her team is supposed to start. Not because of her. Because the ice at 6 in the morning is the only place where my head is quiet and I don't have to perform anything for anyone. The arena is dark except for the overhead fluorescents that flicker for the first minute before they warm up. The cold settles into you differently when it's just you and empty space. I'm running edge work in the far corner when I hear the door. She comes in first. She always comes in first. I know this from 2 years of overlapping schedules that athletic directors think don't overlap but do. She's got her helmet on already, stick in her right hand, gloves tucked under her left arm. She steps onto the ice without slowing down, like the transition from rubber floor to frozen surface is something her body doesn't need to acknowledge. Just automatic. She sees me. She doesn't stop. You're on our ice time, she says, skating past me. Your ice time starts at 6:15. My ice time starts when I get here. She keeps moving. No argument. No pause. Just the statement, dropped like a stone, and then she's across the rink setting up cones before I can respond. I watch her for a second longer than I should and then go back to my edge work. Here's what I know about Nova Callahan that she doesn't know I know. She came to Frost Academy on a full athletic scholarship out of a small town in northern Vermont. She made captain in her sophomore year, which nobody does. She studies sports psychology and she has a 3.7 GPA and she takes her textbooks to the rink and reads them during the ice resurfacing breaks. She lost her father the summer before she came to college and she has never, not once in 3 years, mentioned it to anyone that I've seen. I know that last part because Rafe dated her friend Junie for about 6 weeks in junior year and I heard things I wasn't supposed to hear. I know her game the way you know the game of anyone you've shared a rink with. She's a center, which means she plays in the spaces other people miss. She sees the ice differently than most players. Not just where the puck is, where it's going to be. She builds plays before they exist. She's the kind of player who makes everyone around her faster without them realizing why. She is, objectively, one of the best players I've ever been on the ice with. I resent this at a level that I recognize is not entirely fair. Her team comes in at 6:14. The 12 of them fill up the near end of the rink with the specific organized energy of a group that's been trained well. No wasted movement. They run drills from memory. No one needs to be told twice. June Park is cracking jokes to the girl beside her, but her edges are perfect and her head is always where it should be. That's what it looks like, I think, watching them. When you build something right. My team shows up at 7 for our separate ice time. I've been watching hers for 45 minutes by then. I have skated exactly the edge work I came here to do and thought exactly 0 thoughts about anything useful. Derek shows up with Rafe at 7:02. Derek's got his earbuds in one ear, talking to someone on his phone with the other side of his mouth. He's been my best friend since freshman year, which means I know when he's in a good mood and when he's running something. He's running something. He ends the call when he steps on the ice. The earbuds come out. He skates up next to me and we fall into pace together, habit from 3 years of practicing as a line. So, he says. Don't. I haven't said anything yet. You've got a face on. I have a normal face. Derek. What? He does a wide turn, comes back. Poole is coming to a practice. One of the combined ones. I slow down. Garrett Poole is a scout. He's been on my radar since junior year, not in an official way, not with anything signed or promised, just in the way that a name starts appearing in your life and you learn to pay attention to it. He was at 2 of our games last semester. He asked Coach Voss for my stats sheet in December. When, I say. 2 weeks out, maybe 3. He didn't confirm a date yet. Derek glances across the ice to where Nova's team is finishing up their session. Point being, you want to look like a captain. Solo. Not like half of a co-ed social experiment. It's not a social experiment. It's a tournament. It's a distraction. It's a grant for both programs. Cole. He says my name the way people do when they think you're missing the point. Keep your focus on what matters. Keep your eyes where they belong. He skates off toward the far end to join Rafe. I stay where I am. Across the ice, Nova's team is wrapping up. They're gathering at the boards, pulling water bottles, swapping a few words. Nova is at the far end alone, already running what looks like a sequence she's working out for herself. Push, cut, sharp stop, reverse. She runs it 3 times. On the third one she lands it clean and stands still for a second with her head down. Then she reaches over and peels off her right glove. She flexes her hand. Even from here I can see the way she holds it. The way she turns the wrist slowly, carefully, the way you handle something you're not sure will hold. She flexes twice. Waits. Puts the glove back on. She does all of this in about 8 seconds and then she's moving again like it never happened. I know what that is. I've had a shoulder that I ice every night and don't talk about, and I know exactly what 8 seconds of checking something you can't afford to acknowledge looks like. I watch her cross the ice to her team. I watch the way she tilts her chin up when she gets there, the way she shifts into captain and sets whatever just happened in the private part of her expression, and by the time she's talking to Junie there is nothing on her face that says anything's wrong. She's good at that. Better than me. Merritt. Derek again, calling from the far end. You running lines or what? I pull my eyes off her. Yeah, I call back. Coming. I skate toward my team. I run the practice I planned. I give it everything I have, the same way I always do, the same way my father never quite managed after his shoulder went and his shot started pulling right and the coaches stopped calling. I think about Poole in the stands. I think about what Derek said about focus. I think about a woman at the far end of the ice flexing a wrist she's hiding from the world, putting her glove back on, and skating like nothing happened. Keep your eyes where they belong, Derek said. I know where my eyes belong. I know where they keep going. Those are 2 separate problems and right now I don't have a solution for either one. End of Chapter 3. Nova's POV, Ground Rules. I have negotiated exactly one thing in my life and lost. I was 12 years old and I wanted to skip a family dinner to watch Olympic hockey trials on TV. My father said no. I made a 3-point argument about the educational value of watching elite athletes compete at the highest level. He listened to all 3 points, nodded once, and said, "Dinner's at 6, Nova." That's the only time I've ever walked into a negotiation unprepared. I walked into Coach Harlow's office this morning with a printed list. She looked at the list. She looked at me. She said, "Sit down." I sat down. I did not feel good about it. "The co-captaincy is not up for discussion," she said, before I opened my mouth. "I haven't said anything yet. You have a list. The list is a framework for a productive conversation. Nova." I stopped. She leaned back in her chair and crossed her arms, and the look on her face was the one she saves for the moments when she needs me to hear something I don't want to hear. Coach Harlow has been in women's hockey for 22 years. She has the kind of face that has seen every argument before and still respects you for trying. "Marsh needs both captains on the media side," she said. "The donors want to see leadership. Together. That means press photos, one joint interview before the tournament, and a co-run practice structure. I can do the press photos alone. I can do the interview alone. I run my practices alone already and I run them well. Nobody said you don't. Then why? Because it's not just about your team, she said. It's about both programs. And both programs need this grant. Do you understand what I mean when I say need? I understood. I'd seen the equipment budget for this year. I'd seen the way Harlow had quietly stopped ordering new practice pucks in October and started collecting the ones that went into the boards instead. I folded the list in half. 6 weeks, I said. 6 weeks. And then we go back to separate programs, separate practices, separate everything. Yes. And Merritt answers to me in the same way I answer to him. Equal. That's what co-captain means. I stood up. I picked up my list. I want that in writing. She almost smiled. I'll have Marsh send a memo. The film room is in the lower level of the athletic building, past the weight room and the physio office and a bulletin board that hasn't been updated since October. It smells like rubber mats and dry erase markers. There are 8 chairs around a rectangular table and a screen at the front that takes 3 minutes to warm up properly. I am there at 2:58 for a 3 o'clock meeting. I have a printed agenda. 2 copies. One for me, one for Cole Merritt, because I am professional and this is a working meeting and personal history does not belong in working meetings. I have the tournament schedule pulled up on my laptop. I have a breakdown of our current roster strength sorted by position. I have a proposed combined practice structure mapped across the next 6 weeks with specific skill goals per week. I have been here before with people who called themselves organized and weren't. I do not intend to spend 6 weeks managing someone else's lack of preparation on top of my own workload. 3 o'clock comes. Cole Merritt does not. I open my laptop. I review the roster breakdown. I check the tournament bracket again even though I've already memorized it. 302. 303. 304. The door opens. He comes in with 2 coffees. Paper cups from the student union, the kind with the cardboard sleeve. He sets one on the table in front of the chair across from mine without looking at me, pulls out the chair, sits down, and takes a long slow drink from his own cup like he has all the time that exists. I look at the coffee in front of me. I look at my agenda. I slide his copy across the table. You're 4 minutes late. He picks up the agenda and looks at it. He looks at it for longer than he needs to. This is thorough. That's the goal. You've got us doing position mapping in week 1. We need to know what we have before we can build anything. I mapped my roster last week. Good. Bring it next time. He sets the agenda down. He picks up his coffee. He's looking at me now with that expression I can't read, not blank exactly, just very settled. Like he decided before he walked in here how he was going to hold himself and he's holding it. I look back at my laptop. The coffee he brought me is sitting at the edge of my side of the table. It's close enough that I can smell it. Dark roast, no sleeve, which means it's probably still very hot. I drink dark roast. I didn't tell him that. I don't touch it. Combined practice structure, I say, and I walk him through week 1. He listens. He asks 2 questions, both of them specific and actually useful, which I wasn't prepared for. I answer them. He nods. We spend 40 minutes going through 6 weeks of proposed structure. He pushes back on 2 things, the ratio of combined drills to separate position work in week 2, and the media day scheduling, which he thinks should be earlier so we have more time to correct anything the press gets wrong before the tournament. Both points are reasonable. I adjust the schedule on my laptop and don't make a big deal of it. The coffee is still there. He glances at it once. He doesn't say anything. At some point we've moved from the formal agenda into actual hockey talk, not the logistics, the game itself, the way the tournament bracket is structured and what Lakewood's co-ed unit tends to do on the power play. We've played against Lakewood separately. We've never faced their co-ed lineup. I have footage. He has footage. The footage doesn't entirely agree. Their center drifts right in the second period, I say. Consistently. Every game I've pulled. They don't cover for it. Our footage shows him staying central. Your footage is from October. Pull January. He drifts. He looks at me. I'll pull January, he says. Thank you. Silence for a moment. The kind that happens when a meeting has covered what it needed to cover and neither person has moved yet. You're going to drink it eventually, he says. I don't look up from my laptop. I'm going to pretend it doesn't exist. That your strategy for this whole thing? I look up. He's watching me with the same settled expression. Not challenging exactly. Just waiting. Yes, I say. He nods once like that's a fair answer. He gathers his copy of the agenda, picks up his coffee, and stands. Thursday. Same time. I'll bring the January footage. Bring your roster mapping too. Already said I would. He leaves. The door swings shut behind him. I sit in the empty film room for a moment. The screen at the front is still on, throwing blue light across the table. My second copy of the agenda is still sitting where I put it, untouched, across from where he sat. I look at the coffee. I pick it up. It's cold. I drink it anyway because I've been awake since 5:45 and I need the caffeine, and the fact that he brought it doesn't mean anything. It's just coffee. People bring coffee to meetings. This is a normal human behavior that I am not going to assign meaning to. It's a good dark roast. I hate that it's a good dark roast. My phone buzzes on the table. I look at the screen. The number that comes up isn't saved with a name. Just a label I put on it 3 weeks ago when it first appeared, don't answer. It buzzes twice. 3 times. I decline the call. I sit there for another second looking at the screen after it goes dark. Then I close my laptop, pick up my agenda, and walk out. In the hallway I don't look back. I don't see the figure at the far end of the corridor who stopped walking when he saw me pick up the cup. I don't see the way his mouth does the thing that is almost but not quite a smile before he turns and keeps going. End of Chapter 14. Cole's POV, the scout visits. Garrett Poole is not what I expected. I've built a picture of him over 2 years of near misses and second-hand information, the man my career has been partly pointing toward, the set of eyes I've been performing for without knowing what he actually sees when he watches. I pictured someone like the coaches I've had. Loud in a quiet way. Big presence. The kind of men who fill space. Poole is maybe 5'10" with a gray fleece jacket and wireframe glasses, and he sits in the third row of the stands with a small notebook and a cup of coffee that he nurses for the full 2 hours of practice without appearing to write a single thing down. He does not look important. He watches like he has nowhere else to be and nowhere else he'd rather be, which is a specific kind of attention I haven't encountered much. Most people who watch practice are either coaching or scouting in the obvious way, leaning forward, tracking the standout moments, noting the stats. Poole watches the in-between. The transitions. The stoppages. What players do when they think the play is over and before the next one starts. I know he's there from the first drill. I perform exactly nothing for him. That's a decision I made in the parking lot this morning. No performing, no elevated effort, no version of Cole Merritt that doesn't show up on ordinary Wednesdays. Either what I am on an ordinary Wednesday is enough or it isn't, and finding that out from a performance would mean exactly nothing. I run the practice the way I run practice. The combined session is in its 4th week now, and the difference from week 1 is real enough that I notice it the way you notice a room after it's been cleaned, not a list of specific changes, just a general sense that things are in the right place. Marcus and Priya ran a drill side by side for 20 minutes this morning without a single tension spike. The communication calls between the two teams have developed a shared shorthand that nobody sat down and invented, it just happened through repetition and necessity. We are, imperfectly and genuinely, a unit. Nova runs the second rotation drill while I take the first group through the Lakewood attack sequence. She's on the other half of the ice and I'm on mine, and somewhere in the back of my mind I'm aware of her the way I'm always aware of her now, not watching, just knowing. The way you know where your best line mate is without looking. The body tracking what matters without being asked to. Afterward, when the team disperses and the ice starts to empty, Poole comes down from the stands. He doesn't move fast. He steps onto the rubber walkway at the board's level and waits there with his hands in his pockets while I finish a word with Rafe. I walk over. Cole Merritt. He puts his hand out. Firm, brief. Mr. Poole. Garrett's fine. He looks out at the ice. A few players still on it, finishing things up. Good practice. We've had better. We've had worse. Today was better than average, he says. I've seen your better days. Today was more interesting. I look at him. Interesting how? I'll get to it. He nods toward the ice. Your line work in the third rotation. That diagonal switch, whose is that? I built it last year. Nova and I adapted it for the combined system. I've never seen it run with a co-ed setup before. The timing requires a specific kind of trust in your partner. He says it neutral, not pushing, just noting. You had it. We've put in the work. He looks at me now. Not at the ice. At me. He has the eyes of someone who has spent 20 years watching athletes and has learned to look past the part people show on purpose. Can I tell you something, he says, that nobody's going to tell you from the usual places? Go ahead. I've been watching players for 2 decades, he says. I can tell inside 40 minutes whether a man has the skill set. That part's easy. What takes longer is the other thing. He pauses. I'm not here watching your hands, son. Your hands are fine. I'm watching how you lead. What you're willing to do for the people around you. I say nothing. Because the skill gets you in the room, Poole says. The other thing determines how long you stay. He looks back at the ice. 3 of the men on your team are playing better hockey than they were 6 weeks ago, he says. Not because they've changed anything about their individual game. Because the structure around them is better. Because someone is leading in a way that makes the people next to them sharper. He takes a slow drink of his coffee. That's a thing that doesn't show up in stats. But it shows up on the ice and I know how to read it. I stand there and I don't know what to do with what he's just said. Every conversation I've ever had about making it, my father, Derek, coaches, recruiting calls, every single one has been about individual performance. My shot percentage. My defensive positioning. My points per game in high-leverage situations. My personal metrics, my personal story, my personal shot at the next level. Nobody, not once, has sat across from me and said the team is the addition. I appreciate that, I say, because I need to say something and I don't trust anything more complicated than that right now. Don't appreciate it, Poole says. Apply it. He holds out his hand again. I'll be at the tournament. We'll talk after. He walks back toward the exit. I stand at the boards. On the far end of the ice, the last person still out there is Nova. She's running the left side entry sequence alone, no one feeding her, just the movement, over and over, clean and precise and completely focused. She doesn't know Poole was here. She doesn't know he watched her run the second rotation for 45 minutes. She doesn't know he said you had it when he talked about the trust in our timing. She's just working. Because that's what she does when no one's watching, the same exact thing she does when everyone is. No adjustment for the audience. No performance. Just the thing itself, the work, the same quality whether the stands are full or empty. That's a thing that doesn't show up in stats. I watch her run the sequence. She stops. She adjusts her wrist brace, the one I left in her bag, the one she's been wearing every practice since, the one she has never mentioned and I have never mentioned and we have a perfect silent understanding about. She adjusts it, flexes her hand, resets her stance. She runs the sequence again. I think about what leading means. I've been thinking about it as performance, the right words at the right time, the stats that tell the story, the clean optics that make a scout's job easy. I've been thinking about it as something you do for the people watching. I watch Nova Callahan alone at the far end of the ice, working on something that doesn't need an audience, and I think about what it would mean to lead like someone whose standard doesn't change based on who's in the room. I think about what it would mean to stop leading for the stands and start leading for the ice. I think about Rafe's voice, that guy. I think about a practice that's over and a woman who hasn't left yet and a tournament that's 2 weeks away and a decision I've been circling since a film room went quiet and I pulled back and called it the right thing. I lace up my skates. I go back out on the ice. She looks up when she hears me. Practice is done, she says. I know. Poole was here. I know. And he said something I need to think about. I push off and fall into the sequence from her angle, the mirror position, the left side entry from the other side. Run it with me. Your entry, my position. Let's see if the timing holds with two people who aren't being watched. She looks at me for a second. Then she resets her stance. From the blue line, she says. From the blue line. We run it. The timing holds. Of course it does. The timing always holds with us now, which is either the cleanest thing about this situation or the most complicated, and right now, on the ice with no one watching, I am choosing not to answer that question. I'm just here. That's enough for tonight. End of. Chapter 5. Nova's POV, the wrist. The training room at 11 at night sounds like this, the low mechanical hum of the ice machine, the occasional clank of the radiator in the corner, and nothing else. I found this out by accident freshman year when I couldn't sleep and the wrist on my left hand had swollen from a block I took in the second period and I needed ice and I didn't want to wake Junie. I walked down here in the dark and sat on one of the treatment tables and put a bag of ice on my hand and sat in the quiet for 40 minutes. I've been coming back ever since. Not every night. Just the nights when I need something I can't name and silence is the closest available option. Tonight I need it because the combined practice was 4 hours ago and I still have Webb and Osei's standoff living behind my eyes and the wrist is bad enough tonight that I had to hold the railing coming down the stairs. I flip on the small light above the sink. Not the overheads. Just the sink light. It's enough to see by and not enough to feel like the night is fully over. I pull a bag from the ice machine, wrap it in a towel, sit on the second treatment table from the door. I put the ice on my wrist. I exhale. The cold hits immediately, sharp and clarifying. This is the thing about ice, it always tells you the truth. The pain is real. The swelling is real. The fact that I've been playing through both for 11 weeks without telling a single person is real. I close my eyes. I sit there for a while. I don't know exactly when I become aware that I'm not alone. It's not a sound. Nothing moves. But the quality of the silence shifts slightly, the way it does when there's another person in it, and I open my eyes and look toward the far corner of the room. Cole Merritt is sitting in the chair behind the second treatment table on the left wall. He has a towel-wrapped bag of ice pressed to his right shoulder. His head is back against the wall. His eyes are open. He's looking at the ceiling. He's been here the whole time. I stare at him. He doesn't move. How long have you been here? I say. It comes out flat. Not a question, exactly. Longer than you. His voice is low. He still doesn't look at me. Didn't want to say anything and make it weird. It's already weird. Weirder, then. I look at the ceiling. He looks at the ceiling. The ice machine hums. I should leave. I came here for quiet and I have found the opposite of quiet. I have found a specific and particular kind of tension that is worse than noise. I should take my ice pack and go back upstairs and lie in the dark and count the hours until 6:15 practice. I don't leave. How long? He says. His voice is still low. He's not looking at me. He's asking the ceiling. How long what? The wrist. My hands go still against the ice pack. I don't know what you're talking about. November, he says. At least. Could be earlier. You've been watching my wrist since November. I've been watching you play since November. The wrist is part of how you play. He shifts the ice pack on his shoulder slightly. You stopped pushing off your right edge the way you did in October. You hold your stick higher than you used to when you're stationary. You flex the hand between whistles and you think nobody notices. The room is very quiet. People notice, he says. I notice. I look at the wall across from me. There's a poster about concussion protocols that I have read so many times I can recite it. Long enough, I say. Long enough for what? That's the answer. To how long? Long enough. He's quiet for a moment. You going to tell Harlow? No. Why? Why aren't you telling Voss about the shoulder? The ice machine hums. The radiator clanks once. Fair, he says. We sit with that. It's strange, what happens in the next few minutes. Nothing happens, technically. We're two people sitting in separate corners of a room, holding ice on injuries we're both pretending don't exist. There's no reason for it to feel like anything more than that. But it does. It feels like the first honest conversation I've had in a long time, and we've barely said 20 words. I look at the bag of ice on my wrist. The swelling is better already. It always responds to ice fast, which I have decided means it's not that bad, which my father would call motivated reasoning, which he would say with that expression that meant he found me both frustrating and predictable. Your team looked good today, Cole says. The second half of practice. Once everyone stopped performing for each other. Yeah. Your guys are skilled. Webb's a problem. Webb's always a problem. He sorts himself out. He almost went at Priya today. I know. I handled it. I know you did. I pause. The move you ran in the last drill. The diagonal switch. I haven't seen that setup before. He's quiet for a beat. I built it last year. Voss won't run it in games yet, thinks it's too risky. It's not too risky. The timing window is tight, but it's there. Another pause. Longer. You read it that fast? I read plays. Most people need 3, 4 reps to read that one. I'm not most people. He makes a sound that is almost a laugh. Not quite. No. You're not. The ice is starting to numb out. I pull the bag away and flex my fingers carefully. Better. Not fixed. Better. I wrap the towel around the bag and stand up. Nova. I stop. His voice has changed. It's quieter. Something in it is careful the way words are careful when someone has been holding them for a long time and has decided they have to say them anyway. I don't turn around. I heard him, he says. That day. Mackie. What he said to your team. My hand tightens around the towel. I should have said something faster. I know that. The room is so quiet. The ice machine hums and the radiator is still and there is nothing between his words and the air. I stand there for 3 seconds. I walk out. I go up the stairs with one hand on the railing. I don't run. I don't stop. I walk at a normal pace down the quiet hallway to my room and I close the door behind me and I sit on the edge of my bed in the dark. I flex my wrist. I feel the catch. The deep familiar ache. I sit with it. I don't know what to do with what he just said. I have had a version of Cole Merritt filed in a specific place in my head for 2 years, labeled clearly, purpose clear, access limited. That version didn't say things like that in quiet rooms at 11 o'clock at night. That version didn't notice the shift in my edge work from October. That version was easier. I lie back on my bed and stare at the ceiling. Somewhere down the hall Junie's alarm goes off by mistake, like it does every Wednesday night, and I hear her slap it and say something muffled and then silence. I close my eyes. I think about the way he said I know that. Not as an excuse. Not asking for anything. Just saying it like he's been holding it and he needed it to be out of him, and now it is. I don't know what to do with that. What I do know is this: there are 5 weeks and 5 days until the tournament. There are 11 weeks of a wrist I haven't told anyone about. There is a phone number in my contacts labeled "Don't Answer" that has called 3 times this week. And there is a boy in a training room right now, sitting in the dark with ice on a shoulder he won't talk about, who just apologized to the ceiling because he didn't think I was still in the room to hear it. Sleep takes a long time to come. End of Chapter 6. Cole's POV, what she doesn't know. My father lives 20 minutes from campus in a house that smells like old takeout and a life that stopped moving forward somewhere around 2003. I don't visit often. When I do, I always tell myself it'll be different this time. That we'll talk like 2 adults. That I won't spend the whole drive back gripping the steering wheel trying to outrun whatever I brought with me from that house. It's never different. I pull up to the curb at 4 in the afternoon on a Thursday. His truck is in the driveway, which means he's home, which means there's no easy exit. I sit in my car for a full minute before I get out. The front yard is dead grass and a basketball hoop with no net. There's a Frost Academy Wolves bumper sticker on the mailbox that he put there when I made captain last year. It's the most enthusiasm he's shown about anything in a decade, and it lives on a mailbox, which feels exactly right. I knock. I don't have a key. He never offered one. He opens the door in a flannel shirt and track pants, a can of soda in his hand. He's still big, the frame is all still there, the shoulders, the height. Everything that made him a prospect 23 years ago is still structurally present. It's just empty now. Like a house where the furniture's been sold. Cole. Hey, Dad. He steps back. I go in. The television is on in the other room. Some afternoon sports talk show where men argue about things that already happened. He keeps the volume loud. I've never asked why. I think I know. I sit on the edge of the couch. He sits in his chair. How's the season, he says. Good. We're doing a tournament thing. Co-ed charity event. Co-ed. He says it like the word tastes wrong. It's for both programs. There's a grant. You're sharing ice with the girls' team. Women's team. Yeah. He takes a drink of soda and looks at the television. Someone on the screen is talking about a power play percentage. He watches it like it owes him something. Derek called me, he says. I go still. Said there's a scout interested. Pool. Derek shouldn't have called you. He thought I'd want to know. Did you? He looks at me then. His eyes are the same color as mine, which I've always found difficult to deal with. What kind of question is that? A real one. The television talks. Neither of us does for a moment. Derek says you're distracted, my father says. Derek says a lot of things. He's looking out for you. Derek is looking out for Derek, I say. I don't say it hot. I say it flat and even, the way you state things that have been true for a while. He's got his own angle on the scout situation and it's not the same as mine. My father sets down his can. You know what my problem was? I know. I have heard this story in 4 different versions across my entire life. But he's going to tell me again, so I wait. I let myself get comfortable, he says. 3rd year, season was going great, I had a girl, I had a life, I thought I had time to figure the rest out. He pauses. The draft doesn't wait for you to be ready. You're either sharp when it counts or you're not. I know, Dad. Do you? I do. Because from where I'm standing. I know, I say again. Quiet. Final. He picks up his soda. Goes back to the television. I stay for another 20 minutes because leaving faster than that feels like something I'm not willing to be. We talk about nothing. The weather. His truck needing a new alternator. I tell him I'll help with the cost and he says he doesn't need it and I say I know and neither of us moves on the subject. When I leave he walks me to the door. Don't get comfortable, he says. I won't. I drive back to campus with both hands on the wheel. Here is what I know about my father and about myself, I am not him. I know this the way you know things you've had to work to believe. He gave up. He let the thing he loved most become the thing he resented most, and somewhere in that process he stopped being a person and started being a warning. I see him clearly. I always have. What I'm less certain about is whether seeing a thing clearly makes you immune to it. Derek's voice, don't get comfortable. Keep your eyes where they belong. My father's voice, I had a girl, I had a life, I thought I had time. The parking lot is mostly empty when I get back. I need food and I need to run film and I need to stop having the conversation I just had playing on repeat in my head. I go to the library because it's quiet and I work better in quiet and absolutely for no other reason. The main floor is half full with the usual Thursday evening crowd. I find a spot in the back section near the windows, set up my laptop, pull up the January Lakewood footage that I promised Nova I'd review. I'm 20 minutes into it when I see her. She's 3 tables over and 1 row up, which means slightly ahead of me and to the left, and she hasn't seen me. She's got 2 textbooks open side by side and her laptop open between them, but she's not looking at any of them. She's got a blank notepad in front of her and she's drawing. Not sketching. Drawing with purpose. Lines and arrows and numbered positions, the specific visual shorthand of someone mapping a hockey play. She's doing it fast, the way you do when something is clear in your head and you're just getting it out before it shifts. Her pen moves without hesitating. She marks a position, draws the movement line, marks another, And then she sits back and looks at it and tilts her head slightly to the left. She does that twice, draws, assesses, tilts her head left, and I realize the tilt is what she does when something's close but not right yet. I've watched her watch film. I know the tilt. I watch her for a full minute without moving. She doesn't notice me. She's in the thing, that place athletes go when the game is solving itself in their head and the rest of the world stops existing. I know that place. I live in that place. I've just never watched someone else live in it and felt what I'm feeling right now, which is something I do not want to examine directly. She chews the end of her pen. She draws a new line. She stares at it. Then she picks up her phone, opens the camera, and takes a photo of the diagram. She looks at the photo. She breaks into a small, private smile. The kind that's not for anyone. The kind that happens when you solve a thing you've been working on and the only witness is yourself. My chest does something inconvenient. I look back at my laptop. I watch 4 seconds of Lakewood footage without taking any of it in. I look back at her. She's writing now, pen moving across the notepad in quick clean lines, probably annotating the diagram. Her left hand is flat on the table and she has a habit, I've noticed it in practice, of spreading her fingers wide on flat surfaces when she's concentrating. Like she's grounding herself. Like she needs to feel the surface under her hand to think clearly. I look at my laptop. Here is what I could feel right now. I could feel the weight of my father's house, 20 minutes away, full of what happens when a person lets the wrong thing take root. I could feel Derek's hand on the shoulder of every decision I've made this year, steering, adjusting, keeping the optics clean. I could feel the scout's eyes in the draft and the thing I've been working towards since I was 9 years old on an outdoor rink in December, hands so cold I couldn't feel the stick. I feel all of that. And I feel her, 3 tables over, solving a hockey problem alone in the library on a Thursday night, and I feel the thing I have been carefully not naming for the better part of a week. I name it. Trouble. Big, specific, inconveniently timed trouble, with dark hair and a pen between her teeth and a wrist she won't talk about and 2 copies of a printed agenda and a diagram on a notepad that she just photographed because she solved it and the only person she wanted to show it to was herself. I close my laptop. I take my stuff and I leave through the side door so she doesn't see me. I go to the rink. I skate until my legs give me something else to think about. End of Chapter 17. Nova's POV, The Wall. Modified practice looks like this, I sit in the bleachers and I watch. That's it. That's the whole thing. I sit in the 3rd row with my jacket zipped to my chin and my wrapped wrist in my lap and I watch 23 people run the drills I helped design on an ice I'm not allowed to be on and I hold every single thing I feel about that so far down inside myself that it barely makes a sound. I am not a person who sits and watches. My father used to say I came out of the womb impatient. My mother said I walked at 9 months because lying on the floor was insufficiently productive. Coach Harlow said, my first week at Frost, that I was the most controlled uncontrollable person she'd ever coached, which is the most accurate description of me I've ever heard. I sit in the bleachers. I watch. By day 3 of modified practice, I have a notepad full of observations and nowhere to put the energy and a wrist that is genuinely, measurably, infuriatingly better for having 2 days of rest. Which proves nothing about the last 11 weeks of not resting it and I refuse to do the math on that right now. Day 4. I'm in the 3rd row with the notepad when Cole breaks from the drill and skates to the boards directly below where I'm sitting. He doesn't call up to me. He just stops at the boards and looks up and waits, the way he does, with that patience that used to read as arrogance and I've slowly understood is actually just certainty. He's certain I'll engage. He's usually right. I look down at him. You're supposed to be running the sequence. Rafe's got it. He nods toward the far end where Rafe is indeed running it, handling both his own positioning and Cole's without apparent difficulty. The wrist brace. That was me. I went still on the inside. On the outside I stayed exactly the same. I know. I never said. I know that too. He looks up at me from the ice. The angle is strange, me above, him below, both of us slightly off balance in the way of this whole thing. Why? I say. He's quiet for a second. Because you were going to push through it anyway. I know how you operate. You were going to push through it until it broke completely, and the only thing I could actually do was make sure at least you were comfortable doing something stupid. I'm not stupid. I know you're not stupid. He says it like that was never in question, like he's slightly impatient with me for suggesting it. You're the best player I've ever been on the ice with. He says it flat. Matter of fact. The way you state something true that doesn't require emphasis. I look at him. And you were about to let pride cost you everything, he says. The bleachers are cold under me. The arena is loud with the practice sounds, skates and whistles and Rafe calling out assignments on the far end. Cole is standing at the boards below me, not moving, not asking for anything, just saying what's true. I look away. Out at the ice. The grant, I say. My father's foundation. There's a clause, I have to be competing when my birthday comes. 11 days from now. I can hear my own voice doing the thing it does when I'm being precise to avoid being emotional. Short sentences. Just the facts. If I'm not on the ice, the grant lapses. His name off the foundation. Everything he built for those kids, gone. Cole doesn't say anything. So it was never just pride, I say. It was that. I know, he says. I look down at him. You couldn't have known. No. But I know you. And I know you don't do things without a reason that size. A beat. Tell me about him. I open my mouth to say something deflective. Something that keeps the shape of the conversation professional and manageable. Something that files this under co-captain small talk and gets us back to the ice. No one has ever just asked. Not like that. Not without a preamble, not as part of a check-in, not wrapped in the careful language of someone waiting for permission. Just, tell me about him. Flat. Real. Like the answer matters and there's no right or wrong version of it. I close my mouth. I look at my hands. He built me a rink, I say. In the backyard. Every winter starting when I was 9. Just a hose and patience, and this level he used to check for the soft spots. Cole says nothing. He's still at the boards. Still just there. He wasn't loud about things. He didn't make a big deal of anything. He fixed what was broken and he watched, and he had this one nod, just once, when something was right. I stop. I used to think it wasn't enough. When I was younger. I used to wish he'd just say it. Say what? That he was proud. The words come out smaller than I want them to. He never said it. He just showed up. He just built the rink and drove me to games and fixed the soft spots every spring before the ice melted. The arena sounds keep going around us. Somewhere Rafe makes a call. Skates scrape. A stick handle clips the boards. He died before I got here, I say. Before I made captain. Before any of it. I can hear what's happening in my voice and I can't stop it, which almost never happens. My throat is doing the thing. He never saw the jersey. Cole doesn't say I'm sorry. He doesn't say he'd be so proud or he knows or any of the things people say that are true and useless. He doesn't offer anything. He just stays. Right there at the boards below me, on the ice, not moving, just listening. Like he has nowhere to go and nothing more important to do than hold still while I say the thing I haven't said to anyone, not once, not in 3 years, not since I sat in the front row of a funeral and decided I would carry it alone because that was the only way I knew how. The first tear hits my cheek and I don't wipe it. I don't wipe it because he's not looking away, and pretending not to see would be a lie about what's actually happening right now, and whatever this is, it's been built entirely on the kind of honesty that happens when two people stop performing, and I am not going to lie in it. I cry. Not a lot. Not the kind that takes over. Just the quiet kind that happens when something you've been holding finally gets too heavy and some of it has to go somewhere. Cole watches the ice. He doesn't fix it. He doesn't try. He just stays at the boards below me until I'm done, and when the quiet settles back and I've pulled the sleeve of my jacket across my face and taken one long steadying breath, he's still there. He built you a rink, Cole says finally. His voice is low. In the backyard. Every winter. Yeah. That's a man who said it every year. I look down at him. He's looking at the ice. Not at me. But I can see the side of his face and it's different than it usually is, less managed, something in it open in a way he doesn't usually let happen during waking hours. I breathe in the cold arena air. I breathe out. 10 days, I say. 10 days, he says. The doctor said modified through the weekend. Full assessment Monday. Then we'll know Monday. He looks up at me then. Just for a second. On the far end of the ice, Rafe's voice carries, Merritt. Sequence is ready. Cole pushes off the boards. Nova. Yeah. The rink's still going to be there when you get back on it. He skates away. I sit in the bleachers with my notepad and my wrapped wrist and the cold under me and around me, and I think about a man with a hose and a level and a single nod. I think about what Cole just said. That's a man who said it every year. I press the heel of my hand to my sternum, where the grief lives. Not to push it down. Just to feel it there. Just to acknowledge it is there and has always been there and is not going anywhere, and that is okay, that is the truth of it, and maybe the truth of it is enough. I open my notepad. I write down 4 new observations from the practice I've been watching. I do not leave the bleachers. I never could stay off the ice for long. End of Chapter 18. Cole's POV, Sienna's play revealed. Junie Park does not do anything halfway. I learned this properly on a Thursday morning when she appears at the door of the men's practice locker room at 7:45 with a folder. An actual physical folder. Printed pages inside it. She knocks twice and when Rafe opens the door she holds the folder up and says, I need Cole. It's not optional. Rafe steps back without a word. She comes in. She doesn't look at the state of the locker room, which is considerable. She finds me at the end of the bench and she sits down across from me and she opens the folder and lays 3 printed pages on the bench between us like she's presenting evidence, which it turns out is exactly what she's doing. Sienna and Derek, she says. I look at the pages. Screenshots. Timestamps. 2 columns of text side by side. What is this? I have a friend in the athletics admin office, she says. She processes the transfer paperwork. She also happens to have eyes. Junie taps the first page. Derek Shaw reached out to the athletics department 3 weeks ago about the tournament wild card pool. Before it was publicly announced. He asked specifically about the eligibility criteria for returning transfers with current athletic standing. I look at the page. Sienna filed her application 2 days after that conversation, Junie says. Derek knew she was coming back. Derek arranged for her to come back. Or close enough that the difference doesn't matter. She points to the second page. This is the timeline of what Harlow got told and when. I talked to Kim, who talked to Priya, who was standing close enough to hear the conversation by the boards. She looks at me. Sienna told Harlow she'd noticed the wrist all week. But she's been on this team for 2 weeks. Which means she was watching for it from day one. Which means she came in knowing what to look for. Because Derek told her. Because Derek told her. Junie closes the folder. She looks at me directly, which Junie does with a specific focus that I understand now is not aggression but precision. He's been feeding him information for 2 weeks. Derek was holding it. Waiting for the right moment in the tournament prep cycle. I sit with that for a moment. The full structure of it takes shape clearly, the way a play becomes clear when you see it from above instead of inside it. Derek wanting the co-ed merge to fail. Derek needing Nova out of the picture. Derek finding a person with a motive and a history and pointing her at the exact right pressure point and waiting. What did Sienna get out of it, I say? A spot on the tournament team, Junie says. She wanted back. She thought removing Nova was the price of entry. A pause. She also thought you'd side with Derek when it played out. That part sits differently. She miscalculated, I say. Significantly. Junie picks up the folder. Nova doesn't know all of this. She knows something was wrong with Sienna being here. She doesn't have the Derek piece. I'll tell her. I know you will. She stands up. She looks at me for a second with an expression I can't fully categorize, assessing, but not unkind. For what it's worth, Merritt. The way you handled Derek. And the strategy rebuild. You know about the rebuild. I know everything, she says, without irony. Nova noticed in the first 30 seconds. She didn't say anything in the meeting because she didn't want to make it a thing in front of the team. She moves toward the door. She's been thinking about it since. She leaves. Rafe is at the other end of the bench, lacing his skate very slowly, looking at the middle distance with the expression of a man who heard every word and is being polite about it. Rafe. Yep. Find Sienna before practice. Tell her I want a word. He nods. He goes back to lacing his skate with the same careful slowness. Then, you know, for a man who spent 6 weeks saying there was nothing going on, you are extremely invested in everything that's going on. Sienna, I say. On it. I find her in the corridor outside the film room, which is where Rafe told her I'd be. She comes around the corner and sees me and her pace doesn't change. Her face doesn't change. Sienna Drake has the composure of someone who grew up learning that the first rule of any confrontation is to control your face before the other person controls the narrative. She stops when she gets close enough. Before you say anything, she starts. I'm not angry, I say. She stops. I want to be clear about that first, I tell her. Because I think you came here expecting a certain kind of conversation and I'm not going to have it. She looks at me. I know about Derek, I say. I know he reached out before the wild card pool was announced. I know he told you what to watch for. I know you came in with a plan. She holds my eye. She doesn't confirm or deny, which is its own confirmation. Here's what I want to know, I say. What did you actually think was going to happen? You came back to a team. To a program. You had a history with someone on that team and instead of anything else, you picked the play Derek handed you. I wanted to play, she says. Her voice is level. She was in my way. She's been in your way since sophomore year and the reason she's been in your way is that what you did was wrong and she reported it. Sienna's jaw tightens. That's not me taking sides, I say. That's just the sequence of events. And instead of dealing with that, instead of coming back and proving you belong here on your own terms, you walked in with someone else's play and used the first opening he pointed at. It worked, she says. Flat. A little defiant. Did it? I look at her. You're on a team where every person now knows what you did. You're on a team that Nova Callahan is still going to captain in 9 days if I have anything to say about it. And you had a moment to come back and be who you apparently used to be before all of this, and you chose the cheapest play available. Something moves in her face. You came back and chose the cheapest play available, I say again, quiet. You're better than that. Or you were. Nova thought you were. The cheapest play. I watch that land. I watch it find the specific place in her that still cares what that means. Her eyes drop to the floor for a second. That second. I didn't know she'd fracture it, Sienna says. Quieter now. I told Harlow because I wanted her pulled. I didn't think about what the fracture meant for her. No, I say. That's the problem. We stand in the corridor. The tournament is in 9 days, I say. You're on the roster. I'm not pulling you and I'm not asking anyone else to. But here's what's going to happen, you're going to play your position and you're going to play it clean and you're going to be a part of this team that actually earned it. I pause. Or you can pull yourself. That's your call. But Derek Shaw is done having a seat in this program and if you're still running his plays you're done too. She looks at me for a long moment. She doesn't answer. But she nods. One tight, small, real nod that is nothing like her careful practiced composure. That nod comes from somewhere else entirely. Somewhere she doesn't show much. She walks past me down the corridor. I watch her go. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel bad about it. I feel the way you feel when you've said what needed saying and put it down and now it belongs to the other person. What they do with it is theirs. I take out my phone. I text Nova, Junie talk to me. I know the full picture. Tell me when you want to hear it. 3 minutes pass. Her response, tonight. After practice. I put my phone away. 9 days. End of. Chapter 9. Nova's POV, static. My father was not a complicated man. He fixed things. That was his primary language. The roof leaked, he fixed the roof. The car made a sound, he found the sound and stopped it. I broke my wrist at 14 falling off a friend's trampoline and he drove me to the emergency room, waited 4 hours without complaining, and on the drive home said, "We'll get you back on the ice in 6 weeks." Not "Are you okay or does it hurt?" Just the timeline. The plan. The fix. I used to think that was cold. Now I'm 21 and I've been playing through a wrist injury for 11 weeks because stopping feels like the end of something I cannot let end, and I think maybe I understand him better than I used to. The phone rings at 8:17 on a Wednesday night. Don't answer. I'm sitting on my bed with my laptop open and my wrist wrapped in a compression sleeve and 3 chapters of a sports psychology textbook that I haven't absorbed a single word of for 20 minutes. Junie is at the library. The room is quiet. The phone rings again. I pick it up. Hello. Is this Nova Callahan? A man's voice. Professional. Careful. The kind of voice that bills by the hour. Who's asking? My name is Richard Haas. I'm a legal representative working on behalf of Margaret Callahan's estate management. Your mother provided your contact information. I apologize for the repeated calls, this matter has a time-sensitive component and we needed to reach you directly. I close my laptop. What matter, I say. He pauses. Just briefly. The pause of someone choosing how to deliver something. It concerns your father's will. Specifically, a clause that was not disclosed at the time of the original reading because the conditions for its activation weren't in play yet. The room is very quiet. Tell me, I say. He tells me. My father, 3 months before he died, amended his will. He added a clause tied to a charitable sports foundation grant, money he'd set aside over years, quietly, in an account my mother didn't know the full details of until the lawyers found it. The grant is designated for youth sports access programs in underserved communities. His name on it. His legacy, the thing he built in the last 2 years of his life when he started caring more about what he'd leave behind than what he'd accumulate. The clause says the grant is released and processed through an active recipient, that's me, Nova Callahan, named specifically, upon my 22nd birthday, provided I am actively competing in sanctioned athletic competition at the time. My 22nd birthday is in 7 weeks. 1 week after the Frost Classic. If you are not competing at the time of the birthday, Haas says, and I can hear him being careful with the words, the clause lapses. The grant goes into a general fund. The naming component, your father's foundation name, is not carried forward in that scenario. I stare at the wall. How much, I say. He tells me the number. It's not the number that hits me. It's the image that arrives with it, my father at the kitchen table with a pen and a yellow legal pad, doing math. Working it out in the slow, careful way he worked everything out. Not telling anyone because he'd decided and he didn't need a discussion, he just needed to do the thing. His legacy. His name. On a foundation for kids who want to play. Conditional on me still playing when it activates. He knew I would be. He didn't put a condition on it because he doubted me. He put a condition on it because he wanted to tie himself to me one more time. Because he knew I would never stop. Ms. Callahan, Haas says. Are you still there? Yes. My voice is steady. I'm still competing. I'm a captain on the Frost Academy hockey team. We have a tournament in 5 weeks. That's all I needed to confirm. Wheel. Don't call this number again, I say. Email my student account. I'll respond. I hang up. I sit on the edge of my bed for a long time. The wrist is wrapped under the compression sleeve. I can feel it the way I always feel it now, background noise that spikes when I push. I have been managing it, bargaining with it, threatening it privately into cooperating. It has been mostly cooperating. It has to keep cooperating. I unwrap the sleeve. I look at my wrist. The swelling is visible if you know where to look. A slight puffiness along the joint line that wasn't there in October. I've been explaining it to myself as inflammation. As something that will settle down. As something that is not serious enough to change anything. My father built me a rink in the backyard. He built it because I asked once, when I was 9 years old, and he decided that one ask was enough. He put in the work. He showed up every winter with a hose and patience and a level he used to check for the soft spots. He named a foundation after a version of me that never stops. I re-wrapped the sleeve. I am not stopping. Practice the next morning is the hardest I've pushed since the combined session started. I know I'm doing it. I know exactly what I'm doing and why, and I don't stop. I run every drill full out. I take every contact rep instead of shedding off the way I've been doing for weeks. When Harlow calls a water break, I go straight back to movement because standing still gives the wrist time to report in, and I don't want the report. At some point I'm aware of Cole watching me from the far end of the drill rotation. I don't look at him. I run the edge sequence we've been working on for the tournament, the long diagonal that puts pressure on the right side boards. I hit it hard. My wrist fires on the 3rd rep and I breathe through it without changing my face and hit the 4th rep anyway. I do not look at him. Practice ends. I collect my gear from the bench. I pick up my bag and there is something in the outside pocket that wasn't there this morning. I stop. I look around the rink. Most of the team is already moving toward the exits. Rafe is at the far boards talking to Marcus. Junie is untying her skates on the bench. Cole is across the ice with his back to me, talking to one of the younger defensemen, and he doesn't turn around. I reach into the pocket. It's a wrist brace. The professional kind, the kind you get from the athletic training supply room, with the rigid splint panel and the adjustable compression straps. Not a basic sleeve. A proper support brace for active competition use. It fits the exact dimensions of my right wrist. There is no note. I hold it in my hands for a moment. Cole is still across the ice with his back to me. He is describing something with his hands, some play movement, and the younger player is nodding. He has not looked at me once since practice ended. I know how to read a person who is deliberately not looking at something. I put the brace in my bag. I walk to the exit. Just before the corridor door I stop and look back across the rink one time. He still doesn't turn around. But his shoulders are slightly different than they were a second ago. Imperceptibly. The way they go when a person who has been paying attention to something from the corner of their eye lets out a slow breath. I go through the door. I don't say anything. Neither does he. We don't have to. End of. Chapter 10. Cole's POV, the bet. Derek tells me about the bet on a Friday afternoon like it's the least interesting thing he said all week. We're in the weight room. He's between sets on the cable machine and I'm racking weights across the room and he says, casual as weather, I've got $20 on you. On me for what? Rafe thinks you'll make it to the tournament without catching feelings for Callahan. He does the next rep, I told him he's dreaming. I put the weight on the rack. You bet against me. I bet on reality. I'm not. Cole. He sets the cable down and turns to look at me with the expression of a person who has known me since we were 18 years old in the same freshman dorm and has run out of patience for my particular brand of self-deception. I've watched you for 3 weeks. I see where your eyes go in practice. My eyes go where the play is. They go where she is. Those aren't always the same thing. I pick up a different weight. I don't answer. He lets it sit for a moment. Then, Pool's rep called me. I put the weight down. He wanted context on the co-ed situation. Whether it's a professional arrangement or, Derek pauses. He used the word complicated. It's not complicated. I told him that. Good. He wants to hear it from you. Derek picks up his water bottle. Directly. One conversation. Just confirm it's purely co-captain. No personal involvement. He'll feel better and move forward. I look at him. He's about to make a decision, Cole. The draft window doesn't stay open. He needs to see clean. I know what clean means. I've known what clean means my entire career. Clean means no controversy, no distraction, no story that isn't about hockey. Clean is what my father failed to be when it counted, and I've spent 4 years being so clean I practically disappear outside this rink. Fine, I say. I'll call him. Today. Today. Derek nods. He goes back to the cable machine. $20, by the way, he says. Just so you know what's at stake. Rafe's getting his $20. Derek doesn't say anything to that. I call the scout rep, a man named Fielding, from the parking lot behind the athletic building at 4 in the afternoon. It's a short call. Fielding is professional, easy to talk to, asks 2 questions and doesn't push. I tell him the co-captaincy is a tournament structure, that Nova and I work well as a leadership unit, that there's nothing outside of that. He says, good to hear. Pool's looking forward to the practice. I say, we'll be ready. The call ends. I stay in the parking lot with my phone in my hand. The thing about the call is not that it was hard. The thing about the call is that it was easy in a way that felt wrong. Like saying a thing out loud that you know is technically true right now and might not be true by Thursday, and you're making a promise to both parties, the scout rep and yourself, that you don't fully control. There's nothing outside of that. I've been telling myself some version of that for 3 weeks. Every time I notice where my eyes are going in practice. Every time she says exactly the right thing in a strategy meeting and I have to look at the whiteboard for a second longer than necessary. Every time I see her flex her hand between whistles and put the glove back on, and I think about the brace I left in her bag this morning and how I made sure my back was to her when she found it. Technical truth. Very careful technical truth. I go inside. Team dinner is Rafe's idea, which means it's loud and it's at the long table in the back of the dining hall, and by 7 o'clock there are 22 people crowded around a space designed for 12, and someone has commandeered a speaker from somewhere and is playing music that at least 3 people disagree with. This is, I realize, the first time both teams have eaten together by choice. Not a coach's mandate. Not a scheduled team-building event. Just Rafe saying dinner tonight in the group chat at 5:30 and people showing up. I sit between Rafe and one of the sophomore defensemen. I eat. I talk about the Lakewood footage with 2 of my forwards who have actually done the homework I asked. I am present and focused and completely fine. Then Nova laughs. She's at the far end of the table, between Junie and Priya, and Junie has been talking for about 3 minutes straight with the energy of someone who should professionally be paid to tell stories. I've been half listening because Junie is genuinely hard to tune out. She's doing the voices. She's doing the physical movements. She's acting out whatever happened with her and some guy from the communications building last week with the commitment of a woman who understands that the telling is half the point. Nova has been smiling for the last minute. The contained kind. The kind that's been building. Then Junie delivers whatever the last line is. And Nova laughs. Not a polite laugh. Not the short professional acknowledgement I've seen her use when something is mildly funny in a meeting. A real one, full, unguarded, her head tipping back slightly, her hand coming up to cover her mouth half a second too late. She laughs and then she looks at Junie and shakes her head like she can't believe she's hearing this story, and then she laughs again, shorter, the aftershock of the first one. Her whole face is different. I've watched this face for 3 weeks across practice ice and film room tables and training room silence. I know the captain face. The flat level nothing shows face. The you said the right thing but I won't confirm it face. I know the micro-expression she makes when a play works, the way her chin moves when she's about to disagree, the specific stillness that means she's thinking hard. I have not seen this face before. This face is just her. No armor. Completely unmanaged. It lasts about 4 seconds and then Junie says something else and Nova schools it back toward a smile and the moment closes. I look at my plate. $20, I think. Derek's voice in my head, calm as a diagnosis. Derek's going to win $20. You okay? Rafe says quietly beside me. Fine. You haven't touched your food for 2 minutes. I'm thinking. About what? Hockey. Rafe looks at me. He looks down the table in the direction I was looking. He looks back at me. He picks up his fork. Sure, he says. Hockey. I eat my dinner. I do not look at the other end of the table again. I look at it twice more before the night ends, and both times I make sure to be thinking about something completely unrelated, which is the least convincing thing I've ever done, and the only person I'm performing it for is myself. End of Chapter 11. Nova's POV, almost. I should have left an hour ago. The practice ended at 8. It's now past 10 and I'm the only person left in the film room because I told myself one more sequence, and then one more, and then I pulled up the Lakewood footage again because there's something in their defensive rotation in the third period that I can't quite figure out and I need to figure it out before I'll be able to sleep anyway. The room is dark except for the screen. My notes are spread across the table. My jacket is on the back of the chair. My coffee went cold 40 minutes ago and I drank it anyway because cold coffee is still coffee. This is what I do when something is unsettled in my head. I work until the working fixes it. Tonight the working is not fixing it. It's not the Lakewood footage. The Lakewood footage is solvable, I can see the rotation gap, I can see how to attack it, I just need to sit with it another 20 minutes and it'll be fully clear. That part is fine. The part that isn't fine is the wrist brace in my gear bag, which I have taken out and put back 3 times since practice, and the fact that it fits perfectly, and the fact that no note means he wasn't asking for anything back, and the fact that I have been thinking about that for approximately 7 hours. I pull up the defensive rotation clip again. I watch it. I pause it at the moment the gap opens. I draw the attack line on my notepad. The door opens. I don't turn around. It's probably the building attendant. Marcus does a sweep at 10:15 on practice days. Thought the room would be empty. Cole's voice. I turn around. He's in the doorway with his jacket in his hand. He looks at me. He looks at the notes on the table, the footage on the screen, the cold coffee cup. He looks like a man who came back for something and found something else entirely. Forgot my jacket, he says. I look at the chair to my left. His jacket is hanging on it. I look back at him. It's right here. Yeah. He comes in. He picks up the jacket from the chair. He looks at the screen. Lakewood's third period rotation, he says. There's a gap in the left side switch. I'm trying to pin down the exact trigger. He's quiet for a second. Then he pulls out the chair across from me and sits down. I look at him. 2 sets of eyes, he says simply. I consider telling him the room is closing. I consider telling him I work better alone. Both things are true and neither is what comes out. From the top of the third, I say. I rewind the clip. We watch it together. The first 2 minutes he says nothing, just watches. I've noticed this about him in film sessions, he takes more time before he speaks than anyone else I've worked with. Most players start talking at the screen almost immediately, showing what they see, performing the analysis. Cole watches the whole thing first. He forms a view. Then he talks. I've started doing that less since I noticed it in him, which is irritating. There, he says. The rotation opens. The left defender makes a read on the puck carrier instead of holding his zone. He's decisive but he's wrong. Every time. Pull the October games too. He's been doing it all season. Muscle memory. I make a note. So if we draw the puck carrier to the left side and hold the center until he commits, the right channel opens. For about 2 seconds. Maybe 3. I'm already writing. He's already pulling up a second clip from his own laptop, which he has somehow produced from somewhere. I didn't see him bring it in. He sets it next to mine and finds the October Lakewood game. Same defender. Same rotation. Same mistake, in a different game, 3 months earlier. Consistent, I say. Predictably consistent. We pull 3 more Lakewood games over the next hour. What starts as a targeted search for the defensive gap becomes something wider, their power play structure, their transition patterns, the way their top line communicates on the forecheck. We stop splitting the work at some point. I don't notice the exact moment it happens. One frame I'm working my side of the table and he's working his, and then he's showing me something on his screen and I'm leaning over to see it and then we're both looking at the same screen and talking fast the way I talk when I'm deep in something and have stopped managing how much I show. Their center telegraphs the backhand every time, I say. He drops his left shoulder. Half a second before release. I know. Rafe figured that out in January. You never ran anything to exploit it. Voss doesn't like to build plays around a single tell. Says it's fragile. It's not fragile if you have a secondary option built in. You run the primary set, if the tell doesn't show you default to the east-west transition we built in week 2, he says. I look at him. I was going to say that. I know. The corner of his mouth moves. You were about to draw it. I look at my notepad. I was about to draw it. My pen is already angled toward the paper. I put it down. So you read plays too? I read some plays. Whose? He doesn't answer that directly. He looks back at the screen and pulls up the next clip. I watch his profile, the way his jaw sits when he's thinking, the way his eyes move across footage in that specific pattern, wide first then narrowing in. 2 hours disappear. I don't notice them go. At some point I've turned my chair slightly toward his screen. At some point he's shifted closer to see something on my notes. The table is covered in both our handwriting, his on one side, mine on the other, overlapping in the middle where we've been building the combined attack structure for the Lakewood game. The right channel play, I say. We need Priya and Rafe as the setup pair. Their timing together is better than any other combination we have. Agreed. He leans forward and points to the screen. But the trigger has to come from you. You're the one who can hold the left side defender's attention long enough. He's leaning over my shoulder to point at the diagram on my screen. I turn to say something. His face is right there. Not far away. Not across the table distance. Close enough that I can see the exact line where his jaw meets his neck, the faint shadow under his eye from practices that start before sunrise. Close enough that when he stops talking, the space between us is very small. Everything in the room stops. He's not moving. I'm not moving. I don't breathe. I don't think. I exist in about 1 second of pure unprocessed awareness, the warmth of someone that close, the specific stillness that happens when two people are deciding the same thing at the same time and neither has decided yet. He pulls back first. Not fast. Not jerky. Just, he moves back to his side of the table, sits back, looks at the screen. Good breakdown, he says. His voice is even. Yeah, I say. My voice is even too. I'm good at even. I've been good at even for 3 years. My hands, flat on the table below the screen where he can't see them, are not even. They are pressed hard against the table surface and they are not steady, and I am very glad the light in this room comes from the screen and not the overhead fluorescence. He gathers his laptop. He puts on his jacket. He picks up his things with the steady, unhurried movements of a man who has decided something and is not going to revisit it tonight. Thursday, he says. I'll run the pre-Rafe timing drill in the second half of practice. I'll set up the left side sequence in the first half. Good. He goes to the door. He pauses with his hand on the frame. He doesn't turn around. The brace, he says. The rigid panel should be facing the ulnar side. Makes more room for range of motion. He leaves. The door swings shut. I sit in the dark film room. The screen is still going. Lakewood footage, frozen on a frame, the left side defender mid-rotation, caught between the right choice and the one he always makes. I know the feeling. My hands are still flat on the table. I look at them. I make myself breathe out slow. I sit there for 10 minutes and I don't think about the diagram or the tournament or the wrist brace with no note or the way the whole room held its breath. I think about all of it. Every second of it. In a loop that doesn't slow down no matter how many times it runs. He pulled back first. I don't know if that makes things better or worse. I think it makes them both. End of. Chapter 12. Cole's POV, Rafe tells the truth. Rafe has 2 modes. The first is the one most people see, easy, loud, the kind of person who makes a room feel like a party without trying. He's been that way since the day I met him, freshman year, when he walked into our shared dorm hallway eating cereal out of the box and asked me if I wanted to go find the rink before orientation even started. The second mode is quiet. When Rafe goes quiet, pay attention. When Rafe goes quiet, something true is about to happen to you. He finds me after Thursday practice. Not in the locker room. Not at the dining hall. He waits until I'm in the corridor outside the film room, jacket on, bag over my shoulder, heading toward the exit like a man who has somewhere to be when the truth is I have nowhere to be and am going there to avoid thinking. He falls into step beside me. We walk the length of the corridor without talking. Past the bulletin board. Past the physio office. Past the coach's room with the light still on under the door. "You're in it, man," he says. I don't stop walking. I know. Okay. He walks with me. "What are you going to do?" "Win the tournament." That's not what I asked. I stop. The corridor is empty except for us. The fluorescent above the exit door buzzes faintly, the way it always does. I've walked past that buzzing light 100 times and tonight it's the loudest thing in the building. I look at the exit door. "I don't know," I say. Rafe nods. He puts his hands in his pockets. He's not doing the thing some people do, where they push, where they want the full confession so they can react to it. He's just standing there being the truest friend I've got and giving me room to be where I actually am instead of where I'm performing. "Derek's going to make this hard," he says. "Derek's already making it hard. I know what he told you to tell the scout rep." I look at him. "You confirmed it," Rafe says. Flat. Not accusing. Just saying what he knows. "I saw you on the phone in the parking lot." I know that look. That's the look you get when you're saying something you've already decided you might have to walk back. The scout needs clean. The scout needs to see who you actually are. Rafe says it quiet. Not a lecture. Not a speech. Just a sentence. Which is the guy who rebuilt an entire tournament strategy overnight to protect someone's wrist without making it obvious. That guy. Not the one calling scout reps to confirm there's nothing going on when there's clearly something going on. The buzzing light buzzes. "I haven't done anything," I say. "I know. So technically." "Cole." He looks at me. "You left a wrist brace in her gear bag with no note. You timed your exit from the film room last night so she wouldn't see you watching her. You rebuilt the Lakewood attack sequence around her positioning and you presented it to the team like it was always the plan." He tilts his head. "You're technically correct the same way someone standing in the rain is technically not swimming." I have nothing to say to that. He shifts his bag. "I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what I see. Because I'm your friend and that's what friends are for, and Derek is not going to tell you this because Derek's version of friendship comes with terms and conditions and mine doesn't." He pats my shoulder once, the way Rafe does things, quick, real, no ceremony. "Win the tournament," he says. "Figure the rest out. In that order or not, your call." He walks back down the corridor the way he came. I stand at the exit door for a moment. Then I push through it. The rink at midnight is mine in a way it isn't during the day. I don't turn on all the lights. Just the board's level lighting that stays on for safety, the low amber glow that makes the ice look like it's made of something older than water. I've been coming here at midnight since sophomore year when the shoulder first got bad and I couldn't sleep and the only thing that helped was movement. I don't stretch. I don't run a drill. I just skate. Long slow laps first, to let the cold settle in and the muscles warm up and the day fall away. My edges are clean at any speed. I've been skating long enough that the mechanics are past thought, past effort, just the body doing what the body knows. The sound of blades on ice at midnight when the building is empty is the cleanest sound I know. No crowd noise. No coaching calls. No performance. Just the scrape and glide and the cold air and the fact of moving forward. I skate and I think about Rafe's voice saying that guy. I think about my father's house. The netless hoop. The television running commentary on things that already happened. I think about the film room last night and the way the whole room held its breath and I pulled back because pulling back was the right thing to do, the clean thing, the thing that keeps the scout's picture simple and Derek's angle intact and my own clearly drawn lines clearly drawn. I think about how the right thing felt. It felt like stopping a shot before it goes in and knowing you made the correct defensive play and not being able to shake the feeling that you stopped something that was supposed to happen. I skate harder. My legs start to burn somewhere around the 20th lap. I push past it. The shoulder aches on the crossover steps, it always does. I've learned to catalog it, gauge it, decide when it's a warning and when it's just noise. Tonight it's noise. I have capacity left and I use it. By 30 laps the burn is past the point where you feel it as a specific thing and becomes something general, something that takes up all the available space in your body so that nothing else can occupy it. That's why I come here at midnight. Not because the ice has answers. Because it never lies. The drills don't lie. The edges don't lie. The way your body tells you at lap 30 that you've given it everything you have, that's true. All of it. No scout reps, no derrick, no carefully managed optics, no version of yourself that you put on for other people. Just the ice and the truth of how fast you can go and what you're carrying. I carry a lot. I skate until my legs are numb and the shoulder has gone from aching to just tight and I've sweat through my shirt in the middle of a cold arena, and when I finally stop at center ice and stand still and let the quiet come back in, I have no answers. I have something better, maybe. I have clarity on the question. The question is not what does the scout need. The question is not what does Derek want or what would keep things simple or what would my father say if he were a different kind of man. The question is the one Rafe asked. What are you going to do? I stand at center ice for a long time. I don't answer it yet. But I stop pretending I don't understand it. That's somewhere. End of. Chapter 13. Nova's POV, Sienna moves. Sienna finds me on a Tuesday between classes. Not accidentally. Sienna Drake has never done anything accidentally in her life. She's waiting at the end of the hallway outside the sports science building with 2 coffees, and when I come through the door she falls into step beside me like we do this every day. I wanted to talk, she says. I have 15 minutes before my next class. This won't take long. We walk. She matches my pace exactly, the way she always did, 2 years ago when we were the kind of friends who could walk in silence without it being strange. I keep my hands in my pockets. I keep my face level. I wait. She hands me one of the coffees. Dark roast. She remembered. I take it because refusing it would tell her something I don't want to tell her yet. I owe you a conversation, she says. You don't owe me anything. Nova. Sienna. She stops. I stop with her because walking away would be its own kind of statement and I'm not ready to make statements yet. She looks at me. Her face is open. Genuinely open, or so precisely constructed to appear that way that I cannot tell the difference, and I used to be able to tell the difference with Sienna, which is part of what makes this moment so difficult. I'm not here to make things hard, she says. I know what you're thinking. I know you've been waiting for me to do something. I haven't been waiting for anything. You've been watching me. I watch everyone. She almost smiles. It doesn't quite get there. You reported me because you thought it was the right call. I know that. I've always known that. She wraps both hands around her coffee cup. I was angry. I was humiliated. It took me a long time to separate those things from the facts. I look at her. The facts are that I was cheating, she says. Flat. No drama. And you found out and you went to the board because that's what you do. You don't bend the rules for people. Even people you love. The word lands between us. Love. Past tense. Present tense. Some complicated version that doesn't fit cleanly in either. I wasn't sure you still knew that, I say carefully. I've had 1.5 years to figure out what I know. She looks down the empty hallway. I just want to play. The tournament, the team, the hockey. That's all I came back for. I study her profile. The set of her jaw. The way she's holding her coffee cup with both hands like she needs something to hold. I want to believe her. I want that to mean something. Okay, I say. She looks at me. Okay. Okay. You're on the team. Play. She nods. Once. Tight. Something moves in her expression, relief, maybe, or a very good performance of it. She starts walking again. Sienna. She stops. If this is something other than what you just said it is, I tell her, I'll see it. She looks at me over her shoulder. I know you will. She goes. I stand in the hallway with the coffee she brought me and I think about the fact that I want to believe her and the fact that wanting to believe someone is not the same thing as trusting them, and those two facts sitting side by side have never once been comfortable. Junie finds me at dinner. She slides into the seat across from mine with her tray and no preamble and the specific expression she wears when she has information she's been carrying for 3 hours and cannot hold for 1 minute longer. "I need to tell you something," she says. "Eat first." Nova. Junie. Sienna and Derek Shaw were at Halstead's last night. She says it fast, the way you say something you know is going to land hard. Together. Like, not together, but not accidentally together either. They were at the back table for 2 hours. I was there with Cam and I saw them walk in and I watched them because something felt wrong and it felt wrong for 2 hours straight. I put down my fork. I didn't say anything yesterday because I didn't want to jump to. "You're not jumping," I say. "I might be. I don't know Derek that well. Maybe it's nothing. Tell me what you saw." She does. Carefully, Junie being more careful than she usually is because she knows what it means to me. She describes the body language, leaned in, close, the kind of conversation that doesn't want to be overheard. She describes Derek showing Sienna something on his phone. She describes Sienna nodding, and then saying something that made Derek sit back and look at her for a long moment before he nodded too. I listen to all of it. I sit with it for a long moment after she finishes. "What do you think it means?" Junie says quietly. "I don't know yet. But Derek Shaw doesn't talk to people without a reason." I pick up my fork again. I'm not hungry. I eat anyway because I need to do something with my hands. And Sienna came to me today and told me everything I needed to hear. Junie is quiet. Was it believable? Very. That's not reassuring. No, I say. It's not. We sit with that. The dining hall is loud around us. Somewhere across the room I can hear Marcus laughing. Someone drops a tray and gets a brief cheer. Normal Tuesday night sounds, the ordinary noise of a college building full of people who don't know that 2 tables away something is building in the space between 2 women who used to be the best of friends. "What are you going to do?" Junie says. "Nothing yet. Nova. I don't have enough to do anything with yet. Right now it's 2 people at a bar. I keep my voice even. I'm going to watch. I'm going to wait. And I'm going to keep my team safe. Cole should know." The name lands differently than it would have 2 weeks ago. I'm aware of that and I don't acknowledge it, not even to myself, not right now. I'll decide when there's something real to tell. Junie looks at me. She knows me well enough to know when I've made a decision that is final for tonight. She picks up her fork. "For what it's worth," she says, "I think you should tell him before there's something real. I think he's..." Junie. I'm just saying. I've watched him in practice. The way he... Junie. She closes her mouth. I eat my dinner. But I think about what she was going to say for the rest of the night, and in the morning, and through all of the next practice, and I do not arrive at any conclusion except this: Derek Shaw and Sienna Drake sat together for 2 hours and I was told everything I needed to hear the very next day. That timing is not an accident. Sienna does not do things accidentally. Neither, I'm learning, does Derek. End of. Chapter 15. Nova's POV, fracture lines. The hit comes in the second period and I know immediately. Not the way you know something you can admit. The way you know something you have to decide, in the same half second, whether to acknowledge or bury. The boards come up fast on my left side, a Ridgemont player, aggressive, not a dirty hit, just hard, the kind of contact that happens in a real scrimmage when real players stop treating it as a practice run. My wrist takes the impact first. Wrong angle. Wrong everything. I hear it before I feel it. Not a crack. A sound beneath sound. Something deep in the joint saying the thing I've been refusing to listen to for 11 weeks. I get up. The shift isn't over. I don't go to the bench. I pick up my stick. I skate the next 40 seconds. I make one pass, receive another, position myself on the forecheck until the whistle blows. 40 seconds is nothing. 40 seconds is automatic. My body knows what to do even when my wrist is screaming so loud I can feel it in my back teeth. When I finally come off the ice, I sit on the bench and put my hand on my knee and breathe through my nose and stare at the far boards and do not look at my wrist and do not change my face. I am very good at not changing my face. From 3 seats down, I feel Cole looking at me. I don't look at him. He saw my face when I hit the boards. I know he did because I felt the exact moment it happened, that split second where the pain got ahead of me, where my expression did something I didn't authorize before I caught it and locked it back down. It was 1 second. Maybe less. It was enough. I stare at the far boards. Don't, I think. Not at Cole specifically. At everything. At the wrist, at the timing, at the tournament that is 10 days away and the birthday that is 11 days away and my father's name on a foundation that is waiting for me to still be standing when it activates. Don't. The scrimmage ends. We win, which matters and doesn't matter. I collect my stick and my water and I am moving toward the corridor when I hear Sienna's voice behind me. Not talking to me. Talking to Coach Harlow. I stop. I don't turn around. The corridor is 5 feet away and if I take 5 steps I won't be able to hear it. I take 0 steps. I just wanted to check, Sienna's voice, low and measured and completely reasonable. I've noticed her favoring the wrist all week. I wasn't sure if the trainers had already cleared her for full contact. A pause. I just thought someone should know. Since the tournament's coming up. The corridor is still 5 feet away. I take 0 steps. Harlow's voice, close, Callahan. I close my eyes for exactly 1 second. Then I turn around. The trainer's room is small and white and the overhead light is the merciless kind that shows everything. I sit on the table. Harlow stands by the door with her arms crossed. The team trainer, Pete, does the assessment with the careful hands of someone who already knows what he's looking for. He finds it. Hairline fracture, he says. Not to me. To Harlow. Like I'm not in the room. Like I'm a piece of equipment that's been filed wrong. Harlow looks at me. The silence in the room is very specific. It has weight and shape. It is the silence of a person who trusted me and is now recalculating every practice, every scrimmage, every time I skated full contact for the past however many weeks and told everyone I was fine. How long, she says. I don't know exactly when it. Nova. How long? I look at the wall. October. Maybe late October. I'm not sure of the exact. It's February. I know. You've been playing on a fracture for 3 months. A hairline. Pete said. Pete said hairline, I heard him, that is not the point. Her voice is steady. That's worse than if she'd raised it. Harlow raised, I can manage. Harlow steady and quiet means the thing she's feeling is too large for volume. The point is that you knew something was wrong. You played through a tournament prep program. You've been in contact drills every week. I was managing it. You were hiding it. I don't answer that because the answer is yes and we both know it. She exhales. She looks at Pete. Modified practice only until further assessment. No contact. No full speed edge work. She looks back at me. The tournament is 10 days out. I am not telling you you're done. I'm telling you that whether you play depends entirely on what the next 10 days look like and whether I can trust what you tell me. That lands. The part about trust. The way she says it. Harlow. Not tonight, she says. Tonight you ice it and you rest it and you come to my office tomorrow at 9. She leaves. Pete finishes wrapping the wrist without commentary, which I appreciate. He's worked with athletes long enough to know when the injury isn't the only thing that hurts. Cole is outside the trainer's room when I come out. He's sitting in one of the hallway chairs, the plastic ones that line the corridor outside the medical rooms, the ones nobody sits in unless they're waiting for something. He's in his gear from the shoulders down with his jacket over the top, elbows on his knees, looking at the floor. He looks up when the door opens. He stands. Don't, I say. Nova. I said don't. My voice comes out harder than I mean it to. Harder and lower and final in a way that fills the whole corridor. He stops with his mouth still open on whatever he was going to say. I walk past him. I walk the length of the corridor and through the exit and into the cold night air, and I keep walking. Past the equipment shed. Past the outdoor rink that nobody uses in winter. Past the parking lot to the far edge of the athletic complex where there's a set of bleachers overlooking the empty practice field. I sit down on the cold metal. I look at my wrapped wrist. The night is very quiet. The field is dark except for the distant glow of the campus lights. My breath fogs out in front of me and disappears. I don't cry. I don't have anything in my chest that resembles tears right now. What I have is this, fury and grief and practicality all wound up together so tight I can't pull one thread without pulling all of them. Fury at Siena for being exactly what I suspected and doing it with a smile. Grief that I'm sitting here at all, that the wrist won. Practicality calculating, 10 days, modified practice, the birthday, the grant, my father's name on something that will outlast both of us if I can stay on the ice long enough. I breathe. I breathe again. I sit in the cold until the sharp edge of it settles into something I can carry. Behind me, somewhere in the building, Derek Shaw takes out his phone. I don't know that yet. End of Chapter 16. Cole's POV, what Rafe heard, ***. Rafe tells Cole everything. The scout deal. Derek's play. The call. Cole doesn't explode. He goes very, very quiet, which Rafe says is scarier. Cole goes to Derek. The confrontation is cold, precise, devastating. Cole tells him the deal is off. Derek reminds Cole of everything he stands to lose. Asterisk, you're choosing a girl over the NHL. Asterisk. Cole, asterisk, I'm choosing the team. Like I should have done 2 years ago. Asterisk. Derek leaves. Their friendship ends in a hockey hallway, between practice schedules and skate hooks. Chapter 19. Nova's POV, modified, ***. Nova negotiates with the medical staff. Modified play, she can compete if she agrees to a protective brace, limited contact, and immediate withdrawal if pain escalates. She agrees. Cole restructures every play in their tournament strategy to reduce Nova's exposure without making it obvious she's protected. He does it overnight. He presents the new strategy to the team like it was always the plan. Nova sees exactly what he did. She pulls him aside, asterisk, you rebuilt the whole strategy. Asterisk. Asterisk, the strategy needed rebuilding anyway. Asterisk. Asterisk, Cole. Asterisk. He meets her eyes. Asterisk, you'd have done it for me. Asterisk. She knows he's right. She hates how well he knows her. Don't read my game that well, she says quietly. Too late, he says. Chapter 20. 4. Cole's POV, resolution. 3 days after the tournament, the campus sounds like an exhale. The semester is winding down the way it always does in late February, the dining hall quieter at breakfast, the athletic building less full, the particular hush of an institution that has been running hard and is starting to feel the end of the sprint. The ice is still there. The work is still there. But the sharp edge of the last 6 weeks has softened into something that isn't relief exactly. More like landing. The ground under your feet after a long time in the air. I'm in the athletic director's conference room at 9 in the morning because Marcia's assistant emailed and said Garrett Poole had requested a meeting and would I be available, and I said yes because that is the only answer to that question. Poole is already there when I arrive. Same gray fleece. Same wire frames. Same cup of coffee that he'll nurse for the entirety of the conversation. He stands when I come in and shakes my hand and we sit down across from each other at the small table by the window and I wait, because Poole is a man who says things when he's ready and pushing hasn't worked for anyone yet. He looks out the window for a moment. You had a good tournament, he says. We had a good tournament. He nods. The last 2 minutes of the final are going to be talked about in this conference for years. The play you ran, the diagonal cross, nobody has seen that from a co-ed unit before. It was built, not borrowed. We built it, I say. Nova and I. Over about 4 weeks of film work. I know. He looks at me. Derek Shaw called my rep twice in the last 2 weeks. I hold his eye. I know. First time, you confirmed it was purely professional. Second time, he called without your knowledge to say Callahan was finished and you were available as a solo prospect. The conference room is quiet. Outside the window, 2 students are cutting across the quad in winter coats, moving fast against the cold. That second call, I say, was made without my knowledge or my agreement. I ended my arrangement with Derek before the tournament. I know that too. He takes a slow drink of his coffee. Fielding told me the tone of the second call didn't match the men I'd been watching on the ice. So I kept watching. He sets the cup down. Cole. I'm not here to offer you a contract. Okay. I'm here to offer you a door. He folds his hands on the table. Draft your consideration. Your name is on a short list that gets real attention in the next cycle. That list requires continued performance, clean conduct, and the kind of leadership I saw in that final. He pauses. Not the solo headline. The actual thing. What I told you I was watching for. I sit with that. I think about every version of this moment I've constructed in my head over 4 years. The scout, the table, the offer. I think about Derek's voice and my father's voice and every piece of advice I've received about staying clean and staying focused and not letting anything get in the way of the singular path. I think about how none of those versions had the actual truth of it, that the door opening is not a reward for performing correctly. It's a recognition of something real. Something that doesn't exist without the people around it. I'm not the guy Derek told you I was, I say. I know, Poole says. That's why I'm here. He stands. We shake hands again. He puts on his coat with the methodical pace of a man who has nothing left to prove in any room he walks into. One thing, he says at the door. Yeah. The wrist brace in her bag. He looks at me steadily. No note. I look at him. I've been doing this for 20 years, he says. I notice things. And then Garrett Poole, NHL scout, does something I did not see coming. The corner of his mouth moves once, brief and real. See you next season, Merritt. He leaves. I sit in the conference room alone for a moment. Then I take out my phone and call my father. He picks up on the third ring. Cole. Hey. The television is going in the background. It's always going. Some sports channel, the low murmur of commentary on something that already happened. You won, he says. It's not a question. He knows, probably saw the regional results online, or maybe Derek called him, though I doubt Derek is calling anyone connected to me right now. Tournament. Yeah. We won. Co-ed thing. Yeah. Silence. The television talks. Outside my father's window, somewhere 20 minutes from here, the dead yard and the netless hoop are probably half covered in the late February snow that came through on Monday. Tell me, he says. I tell him. Not the stats. Not the draft conversation, not Poole, not any of the pieces he would have told me to optimize for. I tell him about the last 2 minutes. The timeout. The diagonal cross that Nova and I built in a film room over 4 weeks of footage and instinct and 2 people who were learning to trust each other's red. I tell him about the pass that landed exactly where she was going to be, and the goal, and the red light going on at the same moment as the buzzer. I tell him what it felt like to be on that ice with 23 other people who had become a real thing. He listens. The television goes quiet at some point. I don't notice when. When I finish, there's a silence that is different from the usual silences with my father. Not the heavy kind. Not the loaded kind full of things neither of us says. Just quiet. You sound like you love it still, he says. The words land somewhere deep and specific. Not the game, he knows I love the game. He means the rest of it. The people. The building. The showing up for something that's bigger than your own stats. Yeah, I say. I do. Another silence. Good, he says. Just that. Just the one word, in the voice of a man who knows what it costs to lose it and is hearing something in his son's voice that he hasn't heard in a while. Maybe ever. I'll come by soon, I say. I'll be here. We hang up. I sit in the parking lot of the athletic building with the phone warm in my hand and the cold pressing through the window glass, and I think about a man in a flannel shirt in a house with a television full of things that already happened, and I think about the fact that what happened between us on that phone call was more honest than anything we've managed in years. Not fixed. Not resolved into something clean and finished. Just real. That's somewhere. That's somewhere worth going from. The outdoor rink behind the dormitories is the one nobody uses in winter. I know it exists because I found it sophomore year on a late-night walk when the shoulder was bad and I needed air, and I followed the path behind Mercer Hall until it opened onto a small lot with a board set up and a flood lamp on a timer. It's not maintained like the arena. The ice is natural, which means it's cracked near the south edge where the ground slopes and perfect down the center where it froze flat and even in December. I hear the skates before I see her. She's doing slow circles. Not drills, not sequences, not the precise purposeful movement I've watched for 6 weeks in the arena. Just circles, slow and even, her arms loose at her sides, the brace visible on her right wrist, her breath fogging out in the cold. She hasn't heard me yet. I stand at the edge of the boards and watch her for a moment the way I've watched her before, in the library, in the film room, from the far end of the practice ice. The way you watch something when you stop pretending you're not watching. She's not running from anything right now. She's just skating. Just being on the ice because the ice is where she is most herself and she doesn't need a reason beyond that. I go back to my bag. I lace up. I step onto the rink. She hears me when my blade hits the surface and she turns. She looks at me. She doesn't say practice is done or why are you here. She just looks at me, steady, and then she turns back to her circle and makes a small adjustment in her line that opens space beside her. I fall into it. We skate. No strategy. No formations, no film room breakdowns, no co-captains running a tournament plan. No armor, not her level face or my managed ease, not two people performing professionalism at each other across a table. No Derek, no scout conversation, no Grant clause, no fracture, no shoulder. None of the weight of the last 6 weeks. Just the rink. Just the cold. Just the sound of 2 pairs of skates on imperfect natural ice behind a dormitory that nobody uses in winter. I don't know how long we skate. Long enough that the flood lamp timer clicks and changes and the light shifts slightly, the way it does when the evening gets serious about arriving. Long enough that my shoulder settles into the good kind of ache. Long enough that the circles stop being circles and become something looser, something without a fixed shape, just movement and proximity and the easy shorthand of 2 people who have learned how to share ice. She comes alongside me at some point, close enough that our arms brush on the inside edge. She doesn't move away. I don't move away. We skate. I think about Pool's door. I think about my father's voice saying you sound like you love it still. I think about a backyard rink with soft spots that never got fixed and a man who showed up every winter with a hose because his daughter asked once when she was 9 years old and he decided once was enough. I think about the fact that the best thing I've done this season, the thing that actually opened the door Pool came here to show me, was not a goal or a stat or a clean performance for the right set of eyes. It was showing up. Every day. For the team that became a team. For the ice and the work and the honest thing, even when the honest thing was harder than the managed version. Even when it cost something. Nova glides to a slow stop at the center of the rink. I stop beside her. The campus is quiet around us. The dormitory windows are lit in the distance. The cold is the February kind, serious and clean. Our breath makes small clouds that drift and disappear. She looks up at the sky. Clear tonight, the stars visible in a way they rarely are in a college town full of competing light. My father used to watch games on the outdoor rink in our town, she says. Not to me exactly. To the air, to the memory. We'd skate until it was too dark to see and he'd just watch from the boards. Never said much. Just watched. I stand beside her and look up at the same sky. He would have loved today, she says. Not just the tournament. This. A pause. Just this. I don't answer right away. I think about what it means to love something so much that you build a rink for it in a backyard with a hose and a level and patience. What it means to show up every year without needing the credit. What it means to put your name on something that will outlast you because you believed in it that much. Yeah, I say. He would've. She finds my hand at my side. I hold it. The flood lamp ticks again. The ice is cold and cracked near the south edge and perfect down the center, and it's the best ice I've been on all year. We skate until it's too dark to see. Then we skate a little longer. End of Chapter 21. Nova's POV, Tournament, Day 1, ***. Climax begins. Day 1 of the 2-day tournament. First game against Ridgemont Collegiate. The co-ed unit plays like they've been doing it for years. Cole and Nova are seamless, almost telepathic. The crowd, which came expecting a gimmick, gets a masterclass. Frost wins 4-2. Nova scores twice. Her wrist holds. But in the final minutes, Cole takes a hard hit protecting her from a late check. He gets up. He's fine. But she saw him do it, step between her and the check deliberately. In the locker rooms, separate but walls thin. Merit. Through the wall. Callahan. Don't do that again. Can't promise that. A beat. Fine. Thank you. You're welcome. Chapter 22. Cole's POV, Championship, ***. Climax peak. Finals. Make every character show emotion in a raw and believable way. Ensure each scene connects logically to the story world and character dynamics that will unfold in later chapters. Avoid repeating words and steer clear of overused phrases such as delve, elevate, embark, enhance, landscape, tapestry, comprehensive, dive, furthermore, interplay, journey, pivotal, resonate, showcasing, testament, vast, in summary, in conclusion, or any AI-sounding expressions. Focus on creating authentic human voices through dialogue and genuine emotional reactions. Build tension naturally through character interactions and conflicts rather than explanatory narration. End with forward momentum that makes readers need to continue to the next chapter. Chapter 24. Cole's POV, Resolution, ***. Falling action. 3 days later. Campus is quiet. Semester winding down. Garrett Poole meets Cole one last time. He doesn't offer a contract, he offers interest, draft your consideration. The door is open. I'm not the guy Derek told you I was, Cole says. I know, Poole says. That's why I'm here. Cole calls his father on the way back. The call is short, difficult, real. Cole tells him about the tournament. His father is quiet for a while, then says, you sound like you love it still. Yeah, Cole says. I do. It's the most honest conversation they've had in years. He finds Nova on the outdoor rink behind the dormitories, the one no one uses in winter. She's skating slow circles by herself. He laces up and joins her without a word. They skate together. No strategy. No tournament. No armor. Just two people on ice. Epilogue. Nova's POV, Spring. 4 months later. The podium is exactly as terrifying as I thought it would be. It's a simple one. A standing mic, a piece of paper I've been rewriting for 3 weeks, a room full of faces I mostly don't know. The Callahan Foundation Spring Ceremony is held in a community center 40 minutes from my hometown, in the same county where my father drove me to my first organized game when I was 7 years old in gear that was 2 sizes too big because we couldn't find my size at the second-hand shop. I'm the first speaker after the board introduction. I've given pre-game talks to 24 athletes. I've done a joint press interview with Cole before the tournament that went on the regional athletics website. I've stood at center ice in a full arena and called plays under pressure. I have never been this nervous in my life. I look down at the paper. I look up at the room. In the third to last row, in a seat near the aisle, is Cole Merritt. He drove 2 hours. I know this because I know his schedule, draft prep season, shoulder in formal rehab since March, every week mapped and accounted for, and this weekend was not on any version of the plan I knew about. He drove 2 hours and he's sitting in a folding chair in a community center in northern Vermont in a dark green sweater, and he doesn't wave or make a face or do anything that would draw attention to the fact that he's here. He just meets my eye. He gives me a small nod. Not good luck. Not you've got this in words. Just the nod, the one that I have learned, over 4 months, means all of those things at once in the language that is specifically ours. The language that started in a film room and a training room in the dark and built itself word by word and silence by silence into something that is now as natural as reading a play. I look back at my paper. I fold it in half. I put it on the podium and I speak without it. I speak about my father. Not the version I've been maintaining, the controlled memory, the safe edges, the story that ends before it gets to the part where I'm 21 years old sitting in a bleacher crying in front of a man I was supposed to have a professional relationship with. I speak about the actual one. The backyard rink. The hose and the level and the soft spots he never fully fixed. The single nod that was his version of standing ovation. I speak about what it took to stay on the ice after he was gone. The way grief and momentum are not opposites, the way sometimes the thing you're running from and the thing you're running toward are the same thing, and you don't know that until you stop long enough to feel both. I speak about a wrist I hid for 11 weeks and what it cost and what it taught me. I don't say Cole's name. I don't need to. I speak about what it means to be strong in a way that includes asking for help. Not instead of being strong. As part of it. The version of strength that knows its own limits and tells the truth about them and keeps going anyway, not alone, not performing, but actually alongside the people who show up. My father showed up. Every winter. With a hose. Without needing to be asked twice. I don't say that part out loud. I feel it the whole time I'm talking. Afterward, in the parking lot, the late June air is warm and the sun is in the low evening position that makes everything amber. People I don't know have said kind things to me and I have said thank you and meant it, and now I'm at the edge of the parking lot waiting for my heart rate to come back to normal when I hear footsteps. You drove 2 hours, I say, without turning around. Traffic was fine. Cole. Nova. I turn around. He's got his hands in his pockets, the easy stance, the expression that is open and calm and entirely present in a way I know now is not performance. It's just him. You folded the paper, he says. I didn't need it. No, he says. You didn't. I take his hand. He squeezes once, firm and brief, the way he does when words aren't the right size for the thing he means. We stand in the parking lot. I look at the sky. It's the wide Vermont sky, the one I grew up under, not the orange glow of a city, not the cut-off view of a college campus, but the real thing, blue going pink going amber at the tree line, the sky my father stood under on a January night with a cup of coffee going cold in his hands watching me skate. Your father would have loved watching you play, Cole says. I don't answer right away. I stand with it. With the version of that sentence that is true and the version that hurts and the version I'm learning to let both exist without trying to pick one. The grief is the same size it has always been. I am larger around it now. Larger than I was in the author's note. Dear reader. Thank you for spending your time with this story. When I first imagined these characters, I wanted to write about people who understand pressure, the kind that comes from the outside, from family, from expectations, and what happens when the walls they've built start cracking open. This story is about the courage it takes to be seen. Not the curated version. The real one. The messy, imperfect, terrified one. I hope that resonated with you. If this book made you feel something, I'd be grateful if you left a review. Reviews help readers find stories like this, and every one means the world to me. With gratitude. Maren Kingsley. Acknowledgements. Every book begins with a quiet question. I'm grateful to everyone who helped me find the answer. To my readers, you took a chance on this story, and I couldn't be more thankful. Your messages, your reviews, your enthusiasm, they fuel every late-night writing session. To anyone who has ever built something from nothing, a career, a relationship, a second chance, this one's for you. And to the cold coffee that got me through every draft, you were terrible, and I wouldn't change a thing. About the author. Maren Kingsley writes emotionally charged contemporary romance that lives in the space between heartbreak and hope. She believes the best love stories start with two people who are certain they want nothing to do with each other. When not writing, she can be found drinking coffee that went cold hours ago and arguing about sports with strangers on the internet. She lives with 2 cats who judge her word count daily.